My name is Sarika Pradhan, and I'm a member of the State Civil Service of SIKKIM. I'm posted as a Special Secretary in the Rural Development Department of Government of Sikkim. I have a master's in zoology, but I've been working as a civil service officer for the last 20 years. Change is for real, and that we all are aware. Living in this Sikkim Himalayas and also maybe in throughout the Himalayan range, we've seen that climate change has impacted our life in more ways than one. Uh, I remember as small children, we had distinct seasons of summer, winter, but now the rainy seasons. You get a lot of rain in a short spell of time. The winters are no longer cold as it used to be, and these are real. And how this has affected our entire system is just for us there for us to see. We are a part of the entire Himalayan ecosystem. We thrive on agro ecosystem, and springs, if you see, they are a major part of the agro ecosystem. And nature-based solutions are very important because they actually involve, protecting and restoring or managing it in a natural way, or a semi-natural way, to just restore how it was before climate change actually took place. So the climate change is inevitable, but how we adapt ourselves to this change and how we try to restore the ecosystem, make some effort in this. This is important. And why this is important is, because if you look at springs, they are a part of our agro ecosystem since ages, and now we all know that springs are drying up. And it is very disturbing because springs not only fulfill the drinking water needs of our entire community, Himalayan community where we live, you know but it is actually a part of our entire system. We are agro based, we thrive on agriculture. So its preservation will help not only in solving the drinking water needs of the community, but will also help to restore traditional agricultural practice. Rice paddy farming has been given up because there is not enough water, and these are being abandoned. But if we can get in, recharge the springs, have enough of water, then maybe we can go back to our traditional agricultural practice. And these are very important. And also, as a part of adaptation of climate change, what we've also done is, alternative livelihood, like backyard poultry farming, piggery, poultry. And again, all these will again depend on availability of water. So when we preserve our springs, we are not only preserving or fulfilling the drinking water needs, but we are also as a livelihood alternative for the people of the Himalayan region. So that's why nature-based solutions, they are very important, and they contribute to a great extent to the green, resilient and inclusive development of the Himalayan ecosystem. Spring shed management, we started more than almost around 10, 12 years back, more than 12 years back. And being a part of the Rural Development Department, one of our mandate is to provide water to the villages, and because Sikkim, we fall in the Himalayas, we have, so where there are perennial sources like the snow-capped peaks where we draw mountain water from there, that is not a problem. But for the area where we were, South Sikkim and parts of West Sikkim, which falls in the rain shadow area of the Darjeeling Himalayas, water was becoming a problem, and when we went to the people asking what can be done for their development, they said, you just provide us water, and we will take care of the rest. So then we started, okay, why is this happening? Because those areas, mostly they were depending only on springs. The rivers that are flowing, the Tista and the Rangit, are very low down, and pumping water, it's a very humongous task, let alone how expensive it is. And the springs which were perennial sources were drying up, and especially with the change in climate, and then we having intense rainfall over a short period of time, and this water, 85% is going as surface runoff. Rainwater is not being getting time to infiltrate into the soil. And then in the winters, because of climate change, we don't get winter rainfall. So this was leading to a lot of problem in the lean season period, especially from January to March, April, that span of time. So we decided to see how can we, revive these springs. So revival of springs was one exercise that we did a lot of brainstorming, and then we've been working, learning by doing exercise, because there was no set formula or a set format which we could adopt. And we said, okay, how are the springs getting recharged? So we tried to understand how springs are getting recharged, and we knew that this was also because of the development, and the too much of concretization, too much of tourist inflow, population growth, etc. This was not, and because of that, in the rainy seasons, we'll see a lot of rain coming in, and in the streets being flooded and flowing like rivers, rivulets, etc. That means the water is not getting channelized inside the soil where it should be, and then that is why the springs are drying. So we have been working on spring shed rejuvenation, and all if we've been doing, we've not been doing anything very, high tech. Rocket science was not involved in this. All we did was we tried to identify this recharge areas, and also we tried to dig trenches and pits to allow this to capture the rainfall and to allow it time to percolate to infiltrate into the soil, so that these springs will get their will be recharged. And then we've over a period of time, this has proved to be very, very successful. So basically, for spring shed revival, all we've been doing is to see where the recharge area is, and then we have to understand the nature of the you have to understand the geohydrology of the area and where the tilt of the rocks are. So based on all these, we have been digging where the fractures are. Those are also important. And then we dig trenches and pits. And also because we are in the hilly region, we cannot go digging up everywhere. And also we are earthquake prone area. We stay in the earthquake zone. We have to take care, because of earthquake, we cannot just dig, and we are very prone to landslides. So we have to take all these things into account while digging pits and placing them, so that this will not again have adverse effect on other issues. So we do a ground study of where the recharge area is, and we dig pits, and then we try to allow the capture of rainfall and allow it to percolate, and over a period of time it does go. And with this, we have seen that the springs are being recharged. The discharge of springs has increased over the years, and this is actually a very simple program if you look at it like that. And the policy, we have the practice of this policy is well taken care under flagship programs like Mahatma Gandhi Narega. And this spring share activity has been made permissible activity, in the Mahatma Gandhi Narega program, that is the 100 days employment program of the government of India. We can take up only permissible works under that particular program. So spring shed has been recognized as a permissible activity, and now we have a lot of water conservation work. It has received the highest mandate like never before in the country. So all these things we've been this is our contribution, to make it an eligible permissible activity under the Mahatma Gandhi Nareka program. And also in Niti Aayog, understanding the importance of springs for the communities living in the mid mountain region. They had in 2018 formulated a group study group where to start understand how to recharge, identify recharge, etc. of the springs. So this is what we have been doing over this past 10-12 years. It's a basically learning by doing exercise. And now what we are trying to do is, what we lacked when we started off was we didn't have any scientific data, and we also didn't have a set formula where we could replicate it. So over a period of time, and we did not take it as a scientific experiment, so we did not take our baseline data, etc. But after seeing the success, the community speaks for the program, the villagers speak for the program. They are the ones who demand for this. And once we know that it is a success, people will adopt to this, and they want to implement this. So we have again now started to have taking scientific inputs. We have involved all scientific institutes like the PSI, Aquadam, Pune, IIT, Roorkee. All of them are coming in helping us with understanding the natural processes associated with springs. We are also conducting research studies, and this is helping us to narrow the gap between actions and the anticipated output. So we are also focusing on more intensive studies on geohydrology to understand the aquifer system of the spring. How does it function? That is very important. Then we will it'll be more scientific based. We've been working towards it for the last 3-4 years and achieving a moderate success, and we hope that this will go up further. And also we have taken up restoration of natural lakes. Living in the mountain region, natural lakes were in abundance, but if you see now, those lakes have also dried up, and these were actually a source for spring recharge. They are the main areas where springs get recharged. So we are trying to restore this natural lakes into their original state. by getting water, diverting water, seeing what we can do. We are understanding. We go and we've been able to rejuvenate and restore quite a few natural lakes in the state, and also other Himalayan states and the northeastern states. We are able to help them. We share our knowledge. We've gone to Bhutan. Bhutan has come over. Arunachal Pradesh. I think Seamode also we had the opportunity to send our team there to share what we knew, and Nagaland, Meghalaya. So all National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change, they are funding programs like this. So this is what has been our contribution for spring shed management in the Hindu Kush region. The spring shed rejuvenation, if you see as such, is a highly replicated model and is being tried and tested across all the Himalayan states and the northeastern states of our country. And springs, they are natural formations, and our experience suggests that we first need to understand its system of operation and behavioral aspects. It is a prerequisite before implementing any measure. What fits for Sikkim may not fit for Bhutan, may not fit for Nepal or Western Nepal or to the other northeastern states, because the geohydrology of each place is going to differ to a certain extent. So we have to understand this, but once we understand this, and then we will be able to the basic idea is to understand where the recharge area is, and recharge area will differ from place to place based on the geohydrology of the place, based on the rainfall that we get, etc., etc. But once we know where the recharge area is, then everybody can replicate this model, because it is not very difficult just to understand how to place the trenches, which area is fine, suitable, which area is not, where is the fracture, etc. So through understanding of all these structural controls and processes involved, no, we can upscale the implementation. But one thing that we really need to focus more on is the research and development part of it. That needs to be strengthened, because there are very less studies, and we even though we are in the bureaucracy, we have been trying to help scientists, etc., study and find out some particular data, how it will help us in identifying the recharge area. We've also done isotope studies to understand where the recharge areas are. We facilitated that, because as a bureaucrat we can only facilitate them, but we are getting positive results. And this we started off with a spring centric approach. We identified a spring and try to recharge that spring, but this is a very intensive process, and it involves geohydrological planning and the recharge measures, etc. So now we have taken it up to our aquifer level, where we find that there are a lot of springs in an area and they may be having a common aquifer, and understanding the aquifer system in the hills is what we are focusing on, and we are carrying out studies on that, action research, you could call it. So what is the regional, which is a discharge point, and if it is, what is the regional aquifer system which feeds the springs. And when we look at the landscape level approach that we are taking in right now, it will not only have economy of scale, because it will be less expensive compared to taking each spring at a time, but it will also be easier and less complicated to plan, and we can execute as the target of recharge in the regional mountain aquifer and not in the localized. So this is how we can upscale. These approaches can be scaled out in this manner. So I think, and also we have to also understand, the change in orientation from spring recharge to aquifer recharge. This will need capacity building. Now, capacity building is very, very important, and we need to build the capacity of the people living in the places, so that because it is water and it is for their water needs, they will be interested and they will understand the area better than anybody from outside. We cannot have sort of get people experts from outside. They will come, they will tell you something, they will go. But if we can build the capacity of the local people, and we can strengthen the cadre of para hydrogeologists from within the area, then because it is water, I have personally, in my long experience in this department, I have seen that when it is water, people are ready to come out and to learn, to see how they can best work for the water needs of their village, etc. And so we should take it as I said earlier, from the ground base, from the village based, instead of setting pushing it down from top down approach. The capacity building also should be bottom up, and to make it simple. And then the practice of this reviving Himalayan springs, if you look at it that way, the practice is ahead of science. And then we've been able to do all this only learning by doing approach we've been doing. But what we feel that when we are trying to upscale this, we need to do the capacity building and further research, and to understand so that we don't end up digging up everywhere where it is not required. So in order, in order, we have to see in this way the what you call this approach can be scaled out, and it is a very very replicable model. There is no, as I said earlier, there is no rocket science involved in this entire technology. Number one, I think, necessity is the mother of invention. So when there is a need, then then these when you put your head, heart, and soul into it, you will be able to do it. But what I feel is important for the sustenance of this program is the involvement of local communities, because they are the key players, because they are directly affected by the water crisis, they are directly affected by the climate change, and if we can engage them and make them realize that the solution lies within them, they can do it, and then that is how we feel that it will become a sustainable project. Somebody can, an officer can come and an officer can go, but if the people there know how to do it, they have the capacity to do it, we enable them, we have to work as enablers, and then we make them plan. So these are the things that are very very important. And also, if you look at it from the scientific point of view, we need more studies in our region. And it would have been good, because if we had taken it in a scientific approach from the beginning, then we would have quite a few papers to prove our point. But we started off that quite late, because we didn't realize whether we actually didn't go off in a very scientific as an experiment type of thing. We were only interested in seeing how to recharge the spring. That was our main focus. Nevertheless, though, we have started and it's not too late. So I feel that looking back, it would be good if we had started on a scientific, based on scientific data, if we could have collected from the beginning, because we have a lot of success stories, and the success stories right now is only based on people's perception. And also it is important to, because we have not inventorized the springs of our area, if you know that we have absolutely no count. And also for doing this, we have also done some program under funding from various agencies. We've tried to map the springs, but it is a very intensive program that will need to be done. And again, we will have to involve the local people, because springs, as you see, you will not see them by the roadside, and it will require a lot of trekking and hiking to find where the springs are. And then once we know what we have, how many springs we have, and then we can have a more in-depth study. And once the studies are conducted and then we are able to identify recharge areas, then I think it is going to be smooth sailing. So looking back, these are the things that we thought we missed out, and then again in between we have, in mid-course correction, we've done and we've moved out. And also that, as I told you before, the spring shed, focusing on each spring, we had done that in the beginning, but now we focus on the entire springs in the entire landscape. A valley to valley approach will be more efficient, because the recharge area may not fall from the ridge to valley area. It could so if you take the valley to valley approach, that will be better for spring shed management instead of the watershed approach of ridge to valley. That is what I feel.